everybody, it's Dr. Erin here, one of the good doctors of Abbey Research, and it is Wednesday, February 26th, and for today's Good Doctors Diagnose, I'm tapping into my fanaticism for the sport of ice hockey to talk about some leadership lessons and thoughts on team building that I believe we can take from the Miracle on Ice hockey event. For those of you that don't know what it is, we just celebrated the 40th anniversary this past Sunday, and it is a game that took place between the United States men's Olympic hockey team and the then Soviet Union men's Olympic hockey team in the semifinals of the 1980 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid, New York. And the setup for this is the pretty much David and Goliath story of sports. So the Soviets had won the past 4 Olympics. The United States hadn't beaten them in 20 years since 1960, which was the last time they won the Olympics, or the gold medal anyway. And the Soviets were this juggernaut. They hadn't lost a game in 3 years. And it was seen as an impossible task, especially since at this time in Olympic history, we weren't using professional athletes. So the teams were made up of amateur players, usually just out of college. And so enter in to this 1979, preparing for the Olympics. And the new coach for the Olympic team is named a man named Herb Brooks, who was the coach for the University of Minnesota men's hockey team. And Herb's leadership style is really what drastically changed the events of this period. And so he came into the Olympic tryouts pretty much with a list in mind of who he wanted on the team. He'd done a lot of background research, which is something we really recommend a lot here at Abbey Research. Watched tapes, talked to coaches, and knew the players that he wanted for the team. And we spend a lot of time here at Abbey Research talking about team building and the process of how you do it, but mostly we talk about it after your team is already there and how you maintain a positive culture, how you build inclusion into your diverse workforce, all of these kinds of things. But this is a great example of how you actually build the team in the first place. So he did a lot of work, a lot of preparation ahead of time, and he didn't take the best players, which I think is a really important lesson. It's not always the fastest skater or the best scorer, or even the best goaltender that you want on your team. You want a cohesive group of people that are going to be able to work together to achieve your goal. And so one of the things Herb did very famously was brought in Jim Craig as the starting goaltender and Steve Janicek, who was his goaltender at the University of Minnesota and had just won him a national championship. So the obvious choice for everyone was to have Steve Janicek in a starting position. But Herb knew that there was a big difference between winning a national championship at a collegiate level and trying to beat the unbeatable team. And he saw something in Jim Craig that a lot of people didn't see that led to that eventual victory. So he was really intentional about building a cohesive team in that way, that wasn't necessarily predicated on, the flashiest players, the biggest names, the best at every position. He didn't want the best at every position. He wanted the best that would work together. And the other leadership lesson that I think is really important that we get from this is the importance of belief and self-belief, and the belief that a leader can instill in their team when you're trying to achieve something that might seem impossible. And that is another thing that Herb did really brilliantly. He worked the team very hard. They were very, very prepared for the game, but they also had to believe in themselves, because if they didn't believe that they could beat the Russian team, the Soviet team, they weren't going to. And that was evidenced 13 days before, when they had a friendly match before the start of the Olympics in Madison Square Garden in New York, and the Soviets beat the US team 10-3. And so, he knew that they weren't the most talented team, but he wanted them to be the best team for this moment and to believe in themselves, and to believe that they could accomplish this massive feat. And they did. It's still unbelievable when you think about it. It still is, I think, some kinds of sports miracle. But you can learn a lot of lessons from Herb Brooks and the way he approached this, constructing a team and getting them to believe in themselves, which are two really important things, whether you're trying to win an Olympic gold medal or whether you're trying to launch a new product into the market. So that is my Good Doctors Diagnose for this Wednesday. That's everything for us for this week. We hope you have a great week and a great weekend, and we'll see you all in March on Monday. Take care, everybody.